Sean, we hear you've met with Mark Watts today. What's come out of that meeting?
Just the simplicity, or not the simplicity, but the simple format moving forwards. Made it clear, other than the obvious challenge of all managers, winning games. They're fully supportive of me, the staff, the team, going forwards.
What have you said to him? What do you even want from the new owners now?
I haven't really said too much about what I want. They just was really asking questions about the feel of what I've learned, my time and the overall feeling of the club and some of my knowledge and the things I've learned, things that we can do going forwards. But most of the on-the-pitch stuff, he's kind of made it clear, they're supportive of that and they want to be. It's not about them, getting too involved with that side of things. Obviously, they've got the bigger picture of the club. So as much kind of picking each other's brains and just a very casual conversation, nothing too heavy, but making it clear that the financial stability is very important to the club moving forwards, and from their point of view. Understanding the recent years and how that's gone, and correcting that, and also that there are still some kind of challenges with the PSR and things to get through. So there's a lot going on still.
When you talk about financial stability, then what scope will they give you to improve the squad in January?
Well, as I said, PSR. So that's not about money or no money. It's about the rules. So there's only so much that can be done with immediacy, which they know. The ongoing challenge is to correct things, moving forwards into the bigger picture. But the immediate one in January is going to be dominated once again by the PSR position from the years gone by of, what the club have been doing.
Overall, though, how do you sum up the kind of difference that it makes to you now, the fact that the takeover is complete?
Hopefully it's unlikely, but you stop asking questions about the varying takeovers that I've had to answer to, because he's offered me the answers. So hopefully that one means there's a group that have come in. They've obviously, well, from my knowledge, a very stable group and a big concern. So therefore that might quieten that story down. At least I'll probably have a window to not answer to about the owners. And I think, as their words was, bringing stability, the immediate financial stability, and then pushing the club towards where everyone feels it should be. But he also mentioned it's going to take time to do that. So I think there's a longer view and a bigger picture to what they're going to try and achieve here.
The next question that will be on repeat, though, is what clarity are you hoping for on your own future, short term, and then beyond this season as well?
Well, as I said, other than the obvious one to all managers is winning games, that always stands you in good stead. Other than that, he's made it quite clear face to face, and happy for me to tell you that they've got nothing other than the support from me, the staff and the team. Like I say, you've got to win games, that's a natural process, but nothing but support, no other thoughts on anything other.
How much do you want to stay beyond the summer?
If because you can never guarantee these things, by the way. We've seen how the Premier League works, and money, no money, all the challenges, and everyone thinks money corrects everything. Of course, it often makes you more powerful and gives you a better scope, but it doesn't guarantee. Well, let's say after 22, 23 months of really, really hard work, it would be pleasant to at least try and have a moment when you can look forwards and try and improve. And I mean beyond the natural improvement of trying to work with the coaches and the team and that kind of improvement and development, then the possibility of having more flexibility. But as I said, there's still things that need corrected from the club anyway. The PSR situation still needs correcting and working, to make sure that's in place. So it's not an immediate change, but I think it'd be nice to have a sort of a viewpoint where you think it's a little bit more stable than since I've been here, when it's virtually always been sold, not sold, sold, not sold. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes from here.
I don't want to put words into your mouth, but is there a feeling that you almost deserve a chance at a new stadium, given what you've had to deal with?
I'm not. Look, I said when I got out, as I see management, as particularly of a club with a history, it's because you're a custodian, and so far, despite the ins and outs of every weekly result, then I know the job that I've done so far, but it's a so far story. There's still lots to do. I've said that endlessly. It's an ongoing challenge. This might bring, as we're speaking about, a more solid feel and a stable feel because of all the ins and outs of possible change of owners. There's no magic wand, I don't think, but it'd be nice to think all the work is for good reason, and there's been a lot of good work, not just by myself, by the way, by a lot of people who have worked very, very hard through a very tough period and continue to do so.
Just to clarify as well, is it just Mark you've spoken to? Have you spoken to Dan Friedkin as well? Or?
No, just to Mark this morning. So basically to him on a one-on-one and just sharing thoughts.
Do you expect it to have an impact on the atmosphere at Goodison this weekend as well? It seems like there's a bit of a relief around the club now that this takeover.
Yeah.
Hope for a big atmosphere against the title contender.
Yeah, of course. I don't know about the on-the-pitch thing, but I think all Evertonians I would imagine, it brings, as we said, some kind of stability and a way forwards when everyone was umming and ahhing about all these rumours and everything like that. So I would hope so. I hope it brings a positive feel. We're trying to do that through the team, of course, and results, but it's a nice backdrop if the club seemingly is in a stable position to move forwards again.
I will ask you a question about football as well. Because
rare, but anyway.
Obviously, do you see this Chelsea side that you're up against the title contenders now, and what do you see has maybe changed for them since from the side that you beat Goodison last season?
Well, the manager's done a great job, in my opinion, so far. I think he seemingly made it clear from an outside view. I don't know about inside the camp, but you either get on board or you don't, but the ones on board are going to be the ones that take us forward. And he's created a team atmosphere, I think, and a dynamic which is working well for them. So we know that they've spent so much money over the years, but you still got to combine it. Like I say, there's no exact shortcut. It helps, of course, and combine it into an outfit that can be successful. And there's certainly signs of that. Our job is to stop them, concentrate on our own form. We've been solid at least. We know that we need to score more goals, but defensively we had a 6th clean sheet, and that's a pretty good figure at this stage, and particularly with some of the challenges that we've had.
We've also seen today that Dele has said his future is elsewhere now. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, the major point that we agreed as a collective really was to get him back to a good place, and I think he's there. He's just had so much misfortune with injuries, and niggly injuries that have carried on. I mean, you couldn't imagine it, the challenge he's had. So we wish him well, and I think that's the best we can do. He's been nothing but an ease for me to work with. The medical team worked tirelessly with him as he has as well, and onto a new challenge, but we certainly wish him well.
Thanks, Sean.
Vinny, we'll go to Stuart, the Premier League.
Sean, would you expect movement on the futures of the, I think, 13 players out of contract? Would you expect that to be escalated now that the situation is stabilised?
I don't think it was about that. I think it's about all parties agreeing, to the rights of each player and why we'd want to, use them further, keep them. Possible comings and goings, so I don't think that's stopped by any means. What it will do, give a more of a level playing field to the situation, because there will be some form of advice on where the finances are. From inside, the difference when we're talking about outside as regards transfers is the PSR situation. That's still got to be adhered to, but inside it might bring more positivity and flexibility with what we can do with players who are coming out of contract.
As for the team news this weekend, is there anything you can update us with, in particular McNeil and Garner, Tim?
Garner, Jimmy and Tim are still a bit behind the curve. They're making progress though, so that's good. But that's not going to be quick progress at this stage. But they are on the grass and just beginning to take sort of soft steps back towards fitness. Dwight is probably touch and go. He's still got a niggly knee. We're being careful with it, as is he. So we're hopeful, but we'll have to wait and see.
And are you pleased for the supporters in a way, because they've had a few ups and downs, it's fair to say, we all have in the last few years, but there is undoubted positivity now. Are you pleased for them?
Yeah, I think they've been waiting for the next phase, and I mean, I said at the very beginning, the news of sales. I can't imagine for 1 minute. Or I do know it's not easy to buy football clubs, and and the amount of money involved, and I'm sure the legal work that's involved. So. It takes time regardless, and the fact is it's been frustrating for everyone, especially for supporters, when it's nearly sold then it's not, it's nearly sold then it's not, and then now it is. So, I can imagine there's positivity around that, and I hope there is, and I hope it's a new beginning on many fronts, for the club. But I must mention though, Mr. Mashiri, I must say, nothing but good for me, personally. Been very fair-minded with me, and, whatever people think, he's a big force behind getting the new stadium, and I think that needs to be mentioned as well. And I know there's been some challenges and some opinions, of course I do, but I can only speak for me. Since I've been at the club, he's been supportive, and for what he's done in the bigger picture, one day will probably be looked upon as being another new beginning for the club. But we'll wait and see. But certainly the stadium, I think, is fair to mention his support and drive to make that happen.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Stuart. We'll go to Shemaine.
Hi, Sean.
Hi.
You mentioned the PSR position. Does that mean spending in January will be done more wisely rather than lavishly?
Well, it's always got to be wise since I've been here. There's been no, lavish behaviour, that's for sure, financially. No, it'll be governed by the PSR position at the club. That'll be defined, nearer the time. But at the moment, it's not going to be loads and loads and loads of money to spend. It can't be because of the rules. So therefore, it's not about having money or not having money. It's just about the rules and the way it lies.
Do you know where the club are in terms of the PSR position? How far?
No, we'll find out more detail on that over the coming weeks.
Just a couple on another subject. There's only 3 permanent managers left in the Premier League which are British. Now, you're being one of those. What do you feel about that situation? Do you see it changing anytime soon?
I've never felt any different. If you're good, you're good. And if you're not deemed good enough, then you're not. And results indicate usually that sort of journey. The amount of foreign owners in the Premier League, it's no surprise you've got a lot of foreign managers. It's never bothered me. It's always been, if you're good enough to get the job, you get it. And unfortunately, a couple of managers have lost their jobs. It's very difficult, I can assure you of that. And I wish them well going for whatever comes next. But results eventually are the things that cost all managers, no matter where you're from on the planet.
In terms of the league and the sort of nationality, the Premier League comes lowest in terms of the top 5 leagues. What sort of message does that send to British coaches?
It sends no other message than be good. If you want a job, you've got to be good at it. Simple as that. No, I'm not really bothered about all the rest of it. I look after my own position the best I can. One day it'll change. Go on and get another one, and try and be good enough to get another one.
Yeah, cheers, thanks.
Thanks, Shimon. We'll go to Julia.
You've frequently had to take questions in here about things that you probably have no knowledge of because they're around the club and the way it's been run. And I think since you've come in, you've probably been the voice of the club under the previous ownership because there wasn't any attempt for us to any chance for us to ask any questions. Now, today, does this mean you can finally just focus on the job that you actually came in to do?
I don't think it's as simple as that. I don't get the feeling. I mean, you've got to remember, I've met these guys just literally today. So it's a very quick conversation. There's lots more to be done, I'm sure. But I don't get the feeling they want to be front of house, explaining every detail of every part of the club. I'm sure there'll be statements when needed. So I still think I'll be answering to a lot. But I think it's, hopefully the backside of the club is more level, with the financial stability. And over time they might change places and put people in place. But at the moment, I don't think, or certainly from this morning's meeting, I don't think they're projecting that they're out there saying chapter and verse about the club. But there will be some announcement, I'm sure, in due course about varying things. But no, not on the football side. I think it'll be still me you'd be talking to, well, currently.
There's some quotes that have come out from the captain, Seamus Coleman, on Everton's website, and he's just described it as a tough 4 or 5 years at the club, and everyone's now looking forward. And you've used the word stability there, and I know the Freaking Group have used the word stability a lot as well. How integral, though, has Seamus been in here when maybe the headlines around the club have been swirling and it hasn't felt a positive atmosphere? I just wondered what role he plays, even when he's not on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, we try and keep around everything that we do. He knows it's open house with myself and the staff, and he's been terrific as the person that he is. It's not just about him being a player. He genuinely cares about the club because of his years of service, his connection with the people. He lives roughly in the area, and I think he's to be admired. I think in the modern game, personally, I'm not. The game's changed. The values of the game have changed for each individual player. And life's changed, but he's from that old school in a very positive way of someone who's connected to the club and the people, and he cares deeply about it, and he makes it clear to myself, the staff and the players when needs be, and always in the right manner, by the way. The way he conducts himself is exemplary.
Goals so far, we've asked you this before about goals this season have been a bit more tricky to come by. I'm just looking at the match stats for Arsenal, and it was 23.4% possession for Everton. I've asked you about possession when the results weren't coming, but it was a good result at Arsenal. Is that sustainable against top sides to sort of absorb that pressure?
Well, finding different ways to win, and if you can't win, don't lose. Finding different ways to do that is tough in the Premier League anyway, particularly when you're playing teams that are so reckoned with at home, particularly. Finding different ways is an important factor of it, and I think we gave a good performance for different reasons. We got a clean sheet, another clean sheet, gives us another building block. we've got to obviously find the balance. We've spoken about that endlessly. It is tough when you go play in the top sort of 4, 5, 6 teams sometimes, and particularly at their grounds. And I thought, for that reason, I've always said, there was a myth 10, 15 years ago, possession, is the only way to win. We know the stats and facts are incorrect on that now. It's not the only way to win. It's finding different ways to win, and sometimes you've got to win without the ball. It's part and parcel of the game, but you've got to find a way. And if you can't win, as I said, don't get beaten. We certainly did that.
And Yusuf Chamiti has been with the under-21s. He's had quite a few outings now. I'm just wondering what the plan is now to try and integrate him back in it and maybe see him feature in the second half of the season.
The same as it is doing, but getting him around it, it's keeping him around it, keeping him fit, of course, keeping him training hard, which he is doing, and continuous development. People forget because he was brought in as a kind of player for a fee. It's almost like he's older. He's not. He's still a young player. It doesn't age you just because you pay a fee for someone. So he's still got time in his hands, but he's developing well. As I said, I can't state enough. He's been very unfortunate because I thought pre-season he looked really sharp, was playing really strong. And really, really gutted for him and us that he's been injured, but he's certainly working hard to regain that real real sharpness in his game.
Thanks, Julia. We'll go to Carl at the Press Association.
Hi, Sean. You've had the support from the ownership, but do you feel in the next 6 months you've got something to prove to them, in terms of, you could be their guy going forward? Proving
yourself as a manager is ongoing. It's a weekly or bi-weekly event. Every game will be another opinion, good, bad or indifferent. So it's no different to me. The bigger picture is what I've always been interested in here. There's been a lot to manage, a lot to do, and there still is. So I'm not worried about my situation. It's more about trying my best to keep correcting the ongoing situation.
And you said the initial talks today were just general about just sort of fact-finding and figuring things out. Do you expect to have more regular contact, maybe a more personal contact than you had, obviously, with the previous ownership?
And we'll see. From what I gather or certainly from the chats today, it's more like a business approach. It'll be hands off, and you guys are there for a reason. We value you, we trust you, we want to support you, but not in a way that, by his words, you're not ringing every day saying, what about this, what about that? I don't think that's going to be the situation. But all relationships are built over time. They're not an instant thing in football, in life. So I think it'd be more a case of, finding how it works best from a number of different people who are involved.
Thanks, Carl. We'll go to Will.
Hi, Sean. One of the things that the Freaking Group says is that cultivating homegrown players through our academy, that's one of their goals. It's been difficult for the academy. There's a lot of players have been sold, one being Ishel Samuel Smith to Chelsea. What's your thoughts on the academy situation at the minute, and how can it improve?
Yeah, everything's been thrust into the first team. Really, everyone knows that over the last few seasons. So that'll be another operational thing when they start looking at some point on things like finance in different areas of the club, reasons for it. The women's team as well, all different things. So I think that'll be another viewpoint. Of course, we want an academy that can work to the best of its abilities. Of course, if you get it right, it's a strong vein to come through the club of players, and relatively so in the now market, relatively cheap. It's not cheap to run an academy properly, but relative to some of the numbers we see for players. So, but I think there's so many different facets of the club that need affecting and aligning that I think it'll be a process. And like I say, I think stability is their key, and they've made that clear to you. They've made it clear to me. And whilst getting that stability, obviously affecting as many areas of the club as possible.
It's been a difficult job for you. I'm sure it's been difficult for Kevin Felwell as well, who's out of contract in the summer as well. In terms of your relationship, would you like for him to stay on? Do you think he deserves a chance to prove?
Who's this, Mark, the chairman? Or?
Felwell.
All right, sorry.
Do you think he would deserve a chance for you?
Yeah, I think he's a good operator anyway. His history suggests that. I get on well with him. We've both been realistic with the challenges, and sometimes you take some heat for that, but the reality is still the reality. The truth is the truth. And I think we've stayed steadfast to the challenge right in front of us, whether it's financially or trying to get the players in who are appropriate to try and mould us into a better unit whilst not breaking the bank, and trying to find a way of getting saleable assets who can grow and mature with the team and be worth something in the future. It's a tough challenge. Recruitment's a massive challenge in football. There's no two way in all sports, but particularly in football. A very difficult thing to get right constantly, and we've had to get it right more than not since I've been here, and he's had to play his part in that without a doubt.
Just in terms of the training ground, Stanley Mills is back training with the first team. How good is it to see him back after his injury problem?
Yeah, good. He was unlucky. He was having a good loan spell and got a really serious injury. He's come back and looking strong and fit.
And in terms of Garner and Iraboom, do you think they'll be back this year or will they have to be?
We'll have to wait and see. I don't want to put timescales on it because two kind of odd injuries and quite lengthy injuries in the way that they map out, you know, with the science team and with the physio team, the physiotherapy team. So, but they're making good progress.
Thanks, Will. Any further questions in the open section? We'll take one more.
Just one from me. Cole Palmer, obviously, a player that possesses such technical quality, and he scored a hat-trick at Stamford Bridge last season. How do you go about, as a side, trying to stop a player of such tremendous quality?
There's so many good players in the Premier League. It's not just about him, but he is a very good player without a doubt. The team organisation, the team shape, the value as a team to compete against the opposition have never been one for following players around the pitch. It's more about what we do as a collective, and I think that's been more powerful in my view of how you work as a team. But he's a very good player without a doubt.
Cheers.
Thank you. Any further questions? No? Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Cheers.